Hello there. I welcome. Uh I was just checking things as the stream was during the pre-roll, and it was actually only 5 seconds behind, which is pretty good. I mean, 5 seconds from the time it went out on the stream to the time I saw it back. Anyway, hi. This is, if you're watching this live, this was on Saturday instead of Friday evening. I was having kind of like a migraine or something all day. Not a migraine quite, but I wasn't in any state to have a live stream. So here we are today. The we might I might be doing another a live observing stream at some point. I'm not sure when, but um, the weather has just been really kind of um, not cruel, but kind of it's like it's taunting me. Like it'll be nice and clear during the day, and then just as it starts getting towards sunset, clouds roll in, and it's been doing that like on a regular basis recently. So there might be some. It looks like Monday might be clear, so we'll see. Keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, I wanted to get to the two topics today, which are the Seestar, specifically some connection issues on the iOS with the iOS app that showed up recently and may be fixed, and also some update on solar activity. Disconnected theoretically, but I mean, two different topics, but we'll get to them. And after the live stream, I usually put chapter markers. So if you're watching this afterwards, you can go to the section you're interested in. So the first thing, the Seestar, the connection. There were some issues recently where I kind of noticed it one evening earlier this week, I believe, and I went looking around to see if other people were reporting it, and there were. It was on these ZWO forum related to the Seestar. I saw some other people reporting it. Basically, the symptom was if you have the iOS app and you try to connect to it, it would see the telescope. You pick connect. It would say like it connects through Bluetooth first, and then it connects over Wi-Fi, and it would get to that point of connecting over Wi-Fi, and it would hang. It would just it wouldn't error. It would just sit there seemingly indefinitely, and no matter what you did, if you connected to the if you connected to the Wi-Fi network for the Seestar beforehand, and then try to start up the app, because sometimes when you start it up that way, it'll see that it's already on the network with the Seestar, and it'll just connect automatically without even prompting you. Well, it wouldn't even do that, and I was kind of concerned that I wouldn't be like that there was some kind of issue with that specific Seestar, because I didn't see it with my other one at that point. I was eventually able to kind of work around it. If you look at the Seestar, when it's usually something you do once, but there's a little button here on the bottom for resetting the you usually press it when you're first pairing it with your phone, where it says confirm that you're pairing it with the right Seestar. But if you press and hold it for a few seconds, the yellow light will flash, and or the yellow kind of indicator on the will briefly flash, and basically it resets the Wi-Fi. And I was able to get back into it that way. Well, it seemed like several other people were having this issue, and then Seestar released a couple of versions of the app, and it seemed to have fixed the issue, but we'll see. let's practice it. Let's test it out, because I can't remember if I tested it with this one, but it would be an interesting experiment. Let me see. It's booting up right at the moment. Just okay, it's up. So let's switch to the phone here. So I only have one Seestar running, so let me check. So what you would do is you'd pick connect, and it would say searching, and I renamed mine Seestar A, and so it would say connect, and then at this point it would hang. Well, after you said join, it would hang. If it works, it should work pretty quickly. But if it's not working, see, this was the symptom I ran into, where it would just kind of sit here for a while and it wouldn't error. It would just sit here. What was interesting is I ended up having the issue with my other Seestar. And after I did this kind of Wi-Fi reset, it ended up wanting to do a firmware update. So since this didn't work, let me check something first here off screen. I want to check to see if it's connected to the correct Wi-Fi. I'm going to try changing it to this other Wi-Fi that I have. Wow. It really kind of messed up the screen. So this was kind of interesting. So what I did is I have this Seestar in station mode, which if you go in, yeah, you go in basically under Wi-Fi here, and station mode is on. And basically it will connect to your home Wi-Fi, and then if you're connected on the you connect your phone to the Wi-Fi, the telescope's connected to the Wi-Fi, and then you can control it over your over your home Wi-Fi. So what's interesting is I don't think it was in station mode, and I don't know if other people were having the same issues with station mode, but it seems like it's working, but I just have to be on the correct network when it's in station mode, which I think before it would give me an error, or it would do something like it would work, but now it doesn't seem to be working unless it's connected to the right network, but that's fine. Hold on a second. Oh, you know what? I just realized I do not have my on-screen display on. Give me a moment here. There we go. All right. I can't bring up comments unless I have that on. So yeah, the spinning, the part that shows the Earth was just the circle spinning. Yeah. Yeah, I've had some kind of flakiness in station mode. I have kind of an older Wi-Fi 5 network and a Wi-Fi 6 network, and the Wi-Fi 6 network works better, but I have had issues where when I bring up the app, it like here, when if I close it out and then restart it, you can see it like a moment, and then yeah. I don't know what this font issue is about up in the upper left. I think it might be related to the fact I've got a cable plugged into it, but I've had this kind of but it immediately picked up the Seestar. But I've had it, but I'm in the room that has the access point, so everything's like local. But I've definitely had issues where, if it appears the phone has enough of a signal, and it appears that the Seestar has enough signal, but it'll just lose connection. And so I've definitely seen that as well. Let me switch back. So it looks like it's fixed. But actually, yeah, if you run into this issue, it's just a simple matter of you go in and you just press and hold the button on the bottom here, and this for about 5 seconds. And see, then the light goes off and it blinks. And then when I go in to the app now and I go connect, it now has its original name, not that Seestar A anymore. Connect by Bluetooth. And then it wants me to press it again just to make sure that I guess you don't connect to someone else's Seestar. That could be awkward at a star party if you had a bunch of Seestars and you end up tethering yourself to someone else's. It's taking a bit. Okay, there, it's in. So now it's connected, and I can even like, it's alive. I can even, oops, didn't mean to make that loud noise. But I can, I can look at, I can have it point at the anyway, yeah, so that's good. It is fixed, but if you run into issues with connectivity and you've updated to the latest version of the app, and you're still having issues, you can always try doing that reset on the bottom. Again, using the, it has to be on, press the button on the bottom. It doesn't get rid of anything that's on the device. You can see I still have like all my stuff here that's still on the telescope. So it doesn't, it's harmless to push that button if you're running into connectivity issues. So the other thing I was going to talk about, or the other topic I wanted to discuss today. Let me shut this thing off first. There we go. It should start closing up now. Oh, it should shut down. So the other topic I wanted to talk about was solar weather. Like how many days ago was it? Almost 2 weeks ago, there were those massive solar storms, aurora. It was a geomagnetic storm that caused aurora, caused by some sun flares or some coronal mass ejections and other things. Well, a few days afterwards, that sunspot group rotated off of the sun, out of view. And while it was out of view, it did produce some more major eruptions. And we know because one of those satellites that I've shown previously that kind of monitors the sun, and it has, it can see the corona. It has like a little kind of disc over the sun, so it can see the corona like during an eclipse, but all the time. You could see these like eruptions going kind of like all, in all directions at once, but it was away from Earth. And so the sunspot group was still being very active, but I was looking at, well, there were two sites I was looking at. One of them was this space weather, which I've believe I've showed before, spaceweather.com, and I'll put a link in the description after the video. But it said this sunspot group that's now appearing on the edge of the sun is a return of the active one. And was it AR? Was this the one that was super active? Yeah. Supposedly that I didn't think that was it. I thought that the AR 3663 would return on kind of this area of the sun. But in any case, well, what led me to believe that this isn't the same one, it was basically I was looking at this, which I've also showed in a previous video, this spectrohelioseismograph or whatever they call it, where it basically shows both the active, I mean the visible part of the sun and kind of the far side. And this was the sunspot group that was the really active one. And you can see, so it went off the edge of the sun's disk around the 14th or 15th. And it was still active even on the far side. Now this only goes through yesterday, I think, this animation. But the one that I think is coming around on the upper left, the northeast part of the sun's disk, I think is this one, not this big group, which will be coming onto the sun's surface in the next day or in the next 2-3 days. So that will be interesting, because it's still like this is from yesterday. It still looks active, because like if you compare it to when it first went off the edge of the sun's disk, it looks pretty much similar size. Like soon after, like it doesn't look like it's shrunk at all. Now that said, the one that's just now becoming visible is also a very substantial complex, although it doesn't look quite as big as the one. This one, it doesn't look quite as big as this one. But this SDO satellite website, which again I'll put the link there. It's pretty cool because you can look at it in all kinds of wavelengths. Like here's the visible wavelength. So this is the one. I don't think this is that one that was super active, but it's a substantial group. It appears to be an active group on its own. And then, like, if you look at it at this wavelength, where it does look like it's pretty active. But that other one, that I believe caused all the solar storms, is still kind of coming, and it would be over here, I believe. Maybe I'm misreading it, but yeah, that's something to kind of look forward to. I don't know. Oh, there was one other thing. Hold on. There was one other thing that I wanted to see with this that was interesting on the space weather site. There's so many scientific instruments that can measure things related to the sun these days. This I thought was really interesting. It was the U.S. Geological Survey and NOAA measured ground electrical current. So basically, you have these relatively strong magnetic fields and the plasma coming from the sun hitting Earth's magnetosphere and kind of things bending around. and it's kind of inducing current in the ground. Um, I mean, because like magnetic fields can induce other magnetic fields. Well, this measures the magnetic fields that were induced in ground at ground level in like the dirt, um, from that geomagnetic storm. And this thing is the thing that causes the problems. The aurora themselves aren't what cause. I mean, they're a symptom, but the induced fields at ground level are what cause problems with electrical generation. Like, it's what caused issues during the Carrington event, where it set fire to telegraph lines and shocked operators, and they could run their telegraph machines without even any batteries hooked up to it because there was so much induced current in the lines. And more recently, it caused a massive blackout in Quebec, like 20, 30 years ago. So it's something that, has could have very drastic real world consequences. So this is interesting that they actually kind of quantified it. Like, they're able to measure the electrical currents. And they said, this thing said that the voltages in 89 that caused the Quebec grid to go out were only actually a little bit higher back then. So either the extra voltage was the extra current was the problem back in 89, or we've just gotten better. Let's hope we've just gotten better at being able to manage these kind of events, because then that would. I saw on a video where they were saying, was this similar to a Carrington class event? And it's not. It by some metrics it wasn't. But it was nevertheless. This was nevertheless a pretty severe event, and yet there weren't widespread issues. Yeah, that's the geomagnetic anomalies. Yeah, it's really interesting, and so yeah, that I think is interesting that they are able to quantify it, and they're measuring it. So as these couple of sunspot groups are kind of coming back, the solar maximum isn't until next year, theoretically. So we could have more major events. Now, if those sunspots erupt and the coronal mass ejection like bypasses Earth, it won't produce any effects. So we might see it from Earth, like the prominences or the flares or whatever, but there may be no aurora or anything else if it doesn't head towards Earth. But it could. It's very possible, actually. Yeah. It's not clear. I mean, we do have all these satellites up there for a reason, to monitor these kind of things. And the fact that they're able to quantify this means they're measuring it. And like one of the things about that SOHO, one of the satellites, not this SDO satellite, but the SOHO satellite, which is kind of parked always between Earth and Sun, and it gives about a half-hour warning. So if they have to disconnect certain things from each other, maybe, or kind of shed some loads or something on the power grid, they can do it ahead of time. But it's possible. I mean, it's been 30 years, so maybe they've added better, I don't know, something electrical to the power lines to kind of help mitigate that kind of the surges, the magnetic surges. So it's hard to say. Yeah, and it might just be that we've gotten better prepared, but time will tell. Hopefully that's the case. If not, the next few months could be interesting. Um, uh, but yeah, so that was kind of what I wanted to go over. Um, I thought that was kind of neat. The extra things that continue to come out from that solar eruption, and how it may not be done with us yet. How it's now coming back into view. So something to kind of keep an eye on. It at the very least, even if there aren't any major eruptions, those sunspot groups were pretty neat to photograph. So that'll be something to possibly look forward to. I'll pass on all the other. It would be neat to see the aurora again, but power outages we could skip. But I think that is all I had for today. Next week, I'm tentatively, I've been wanting to do this for a while. I'm tentatively going to have a video, or not a video, I'm going to do a live stream about transient astronomical phenomena, or time domain astronomy. Basically, like the nebula and galaxies, they're generally kind of not changing over, years, decades, centuries, millennia. But there are things like these, like the sun, that is more dynamic, but also things like supernovas, which generally there haven't been any recently in the galaxy, but there's been ones in other galaxies that I've showed previously that you can definitely photograph. Things like the nova, the T Coronae Borealis, that I had a short little video on how you can actually find that and take a photo of it. It's pretty easy. It's like a minute, 90-second exposure, 2-minute exposure on the Seestar, and that's where I live in terribly light polluted conditions. But things like that, and not meteors, comets, and a few other surprises. But that'll be next week, I think. At least that's my current plan. But okay. Yeah. Sorry, Jack. That I did mention it at the beginning of the stream. I basically go rewatch that, but basically there was an issue with the iOS app. It appears to be fixed, and I showed how to kind of possibly work around it by hitting the reset button. But if you go back, I kind of demoed it all, kind of near the beginning of this stream. And but yeah, if there's any other questions, I think if more people show up on the live streams, I mean, like the live observing streams often are pretty lively. There's quite a few people on those. Yeah, no problem. Jack, the live observing streams are usually pretty lively, but they also go on for like a few hours. But maybe, yeah, those are probably a better kind of venue for Q&A kind of things, because there's usually more people kind of commenting. But yeah, that's all I have for now. I will update the description later this evening with information about the everything that I discussed in this video, and I guess that's it. And yeah, so until next time, hope you have clearer skies than I have, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.